I never really aspired to be a hero or even wanted to be one, but still here I am with this fawn and this sylph trying to save our world, our revelry. I have no idea what will happen, but whatever happens, I was part of something, and I think that is what is important.
This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
Ah, Miranda, Beulah, over here. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, we're all good. Thank you. Oh, wait, you're not alive, are you, anymore? I kind of grimace.
No, I'm not.
You just, as we appear, you see me about to draw a sigh of relief, and then I step on something, and I wince instead as I come up to this form.
So, well, here we are. Did you know the others? Did you know, Catherine, do you know where the arrow is?
The arrow is near. Yes, it is. I knew all of them. It's been so long. Memory is a difficult thing here. I have had difficulty with it. I don't...
Am I the only one?
I recall now. Catherine slew the thing. She slew the beast with the arrow made of all things, made of all magics. And she was able to do that because of me. I shielded her with my... Oh, it's been so long. I shielded her with my magic so many times. I weakened myself so much doing it. And I died here.
Yes, I think the others... I think everyone had to do everything they could to help. But she did win. We're here to finish. We're all... Actually, it's really weird because we're all friends, and it seems that we're all friends, and you lot are all friends. And how convenient that we're all here, 3 of us.
Yeah, we met with both Beulah and Dorovia as well.
She looks at you confused for a moment, and then slowly realization spreads across her face. My friends. Oh, I've forgotten their names so long ago. Don't ever forget your friends' names.
Am I the only one who find it strange that we're all friends like this? Is it a coincidence, you think, that we're here when they were here?
Or, well, maybe destiny or fate, although, there's lots of things you can argue against those, or for, the arguments go on and on and on and on. I've read lots of books about it.
Well, all 3 of us have been hearing these legends. We've all strived to attain the goals that our ancestors set before us, and I don't know if it's that strange that we're finally here, this is what they did.
Yes.
And now this is what we all strive towards, willingly or not.
Well, so is anything we can do for you? We're here, we're doing it. Do you know what we're supposed to do next?
You know of the arrow, you're seeking it, yes?
Yes, but I don't think we know really what to do with it. I mean, the beast is still here, but it's also not here at the same time. And we were sent to waken it, but to make it a good thing, and help.
It needs light. That's what Beulah said. Light.
Of course. Well, I suppose you'll need to find it. It is just beyond here. But I must tell you this first. The thing that you are in, this beast, It was of the void, and nothing of the void ever dies. But it has been left here by the void, and it has been here on Reverie, within Reverie, buried deep within a scar in this world for so long that it is now as much a part of Reverie as it was of the void. A bit of light can bring this beast to bear to defeat the void again.
Yes.
So we just find the arrow, and then make it light. All right, then we can do that. We're good at this sort of thing. We're courageous and all that, and Irelanda's pretty good too.
Yeah, but if this thing is part of what we are, in a way, maybe we will need to. Yeah, we'll need to use it as a force against the new threat. Yeah?
Yeah, maybe. Well, thank you, great-grandmother.
Thank you for coming here. She leans in, and she whispers into your ear for a little while. None of you, the other two of you, hear this, but she whispers into your ear, Seth, and she tells you the secret of making wind sculpture that she knew. That must be brought back to the world.
Oh, I will. That's so good to know. None of the books, no one knew that I can make my own book. Oh, it'll be a great book. And yes, I will. I definitely will. Thank you very much.
And with that, she dissipates. Her body coalesces and forms down into a little dot, a little speck, a pebble of bright light, which then drops to the floor in front of you and remains. It does not go out.
Pick it up. I put it in my little bag. And I go, okay, well, that's something for later. That's a great secret. I like secrets. Sorry, I can't tell you to. I'll show you, though. But anyway, let's focus. We need to keep going.
What was that? Why'd she leave something behind?
I shrug.
I am just a little bit worried about this. Infusing it with light or something. Am I supposed to light things on fire? Should I set it aflame?
Well, maybe the arrow, obviously, does something awesome, and we'll know what it is, or I'll know, because I'm smart, and then we will... And I just sort of trail off as I head on.
We will figure it out, as we always do, we just... We throw ourselves in there, and then we figure things out. That's how it's been going so far, and... I mean, we're all a bit messed up for what it's worth, but we push on through, right?
That we do.
Beulah in the lead again?
Yeah, but she's starting to feel a bit cramped again, so she's hesitating a little bit on her step, trying to push through, trying to widen like the passageway as much as possible while pushing through it. But yeah, she's in the front.
Yeah, well, after that, I start doing the same thing again. I try to play a song of calm now, because the emotions that I felt initially when we were outside, they have all, I assume, dissipated.
They are all gone.
And so I start to play, and I sing. I sing about Beulah, the older. I sing about Dorovia, and I sing about Sethis. And I once again spend some spirit to instill courage. And can I do it in both my companion or so that hear this, or just...
Sure, you can do this, given how well themed it is. And the group of you continues further in, a little surer in your steps. Beulah's fire in flame lighting the way. as you get deeper into this thing, the tract that you're walking upon again begins to widen, and you find yourself in a very large chamber. This does not look like a natural part of this thing's innards. It looks like there's been a great deal of rot and perhaps damage done to this thing. Perhaps when it fell into the ravine in the first place. There are broken bits of broken bits of chitin and carapace. There are tears of the fleshy walls of the inside of this thing, mounds of it, spots where there's no discernible structure, no appropriate surface, and in the midst of all of it is a great, massive heart with veins and arteries leading from it. And as you've been walking through this, the beast, that pulsing sound has continued in the walls of the beast. And as you get here now, you see that the pulsing is emanating. It is coming in time from the heart, which is ever so slowly, not beating, but just moving in time. You don't get the feeling that anything is being pushed through any vessels, just that it is moving.
I immediately start sort of moving around the area quite quickly to see the arrow. Is it here? Is it here? Come on, the arrow must be here somewhere.
You can give me a mind check to find an arrow. Anybody who wants to go looking, any of you can throw in on that. Of course, Seth, you've got your bonus for being a sylph. Target number 6.
Unfortunately, that is a failure for me.
I'm probably looking at my boots or something.
If you failed, it's a mark skill.
I am at this point. I'm still singing softly. This softer, slightly more calm, maybe a bit sad song. But I feel like I'm not really able to focus to look around, but I walk around the room and I look, I suppose, as I do so.
Sure, we can have you keep up your song, but you make this check with disadvantage, so -1 die to a minimum of 1. If you lose a die, you always at least roll 1.
All right. Of mind.
Mind check, yes. Target number 6 to find a little bitty arrow.
Well, as I said before, the arrow hander is not a very mindful character, and so I have 1 in mind, and I cannot lose beyond that, as I understand it. So I roll 1 die, and I actually roll a 6.
And you see the arrow buried nearly to the fletching, making it very difficult to find, in the side of this great heart.
And I am distractedly playing, and I make a double check. I look and look again, and I just stop. And you see me just standing there and staring. And then I slowly raise an arm and a finger and just point.
The flickering of Beulah's flame is causing the shadows to move about in here. There's all these bits of sinew and vessel that are all over, and you're seeing the shadow here, the shadow there, and the flickering flame causes them to sort of waver and move a bit, and just coalescing out of these flickering shadows right near the heart, right near where you see the arrowhander, is the shadow of a woman in skirts holding a bow. She is all black and all shadow, except for her eyes, which are pinpricks of green light. And she reaches her shadowy hand to the arrow and draws it out of the heart. From the hole, black ichor starts to run. Not just drip, but run like a faucet, pooling at the ground beneath her. And she takes that arrow, and you see the shadow as she turns slightly to the side that she has a quiver, and she places the arrow into the quiver and looks at you and says, "Where is she? Where is Catherine?"
Well, who are you? You're Catherine, aren't you? No?
"She left me here."
What are you? Her shadow?
What are any of us? We are trapped on this world, and we live and we die, except I don't die because she won't come back and let me.
You can help us. The void is spreading again. That arrow, we need it.
Her shadow face, you can't really see a smile, but you see like her cheeks rise on her at the sides, and she says, "It's here again." Excellent. This is wonderful news. And she reaches back behind her, back to her quiver, and she draws forth a shadow arrow. Not the arrow that you saw her pull, but another arrow entirely. And she knocks it in her bow.
Wait, excuse me, could you maybe stop with the aggressive stuff? The void is back, but we are going to fight it back. We need the arrow you're holding to do it. Surely, if you want to no longer be as you are, let us do that, because then you will be taken by the light, and the light will purify your shadow.
If I must be here because she left me here, she who had 3 companions, then I shall take 3 companions of my own, and you shall come with me. All 3 of you.
I think not.
She starts to draw the bowstring back.
As she's doing this, do I see that the golden arrow is in her quiver?
She has she is, everything about her is black and shadow and ink. You saw that she put it into the quiver, but you can't specifically see it in the quiver at this point.
I quickly mutter to Beulah, if I can just see it, I can get it, but I need to do something.
She draws the bowstring back further, now pulled taut.
I charge her. Head on, red cap first.
All right, sounds like we are in an action sequence. Beulah first. What's the plan? What are you doing?
I'm just gonna try to knock her down, and I am a red cap, and I always capture whoever I'm chasing, so I'm doing this.
All right, you run up to attack. Body check, target number 5.
And I got an advantage because this is a fight.
This is a fight,
yeah.
So red rage. You're better in a fight.
Oh my god, so many ones. 4 ones and a 3. So no, I probably charged straight into that big pulsating heart instead.
Mark a skill for failure, and then which hand did you swing? This was fist, or did you have a weapon?
No, I was more going in like gonna body slam, tackle her to the floor. So I kind of just wherever I land, I probably going there head first.
So you go in, arms outstretched, head first to try to tackle her. You kind of miss her and glance off of her, but your left arm kind of passes through her, and when you draw it out on the other side, this is your complication. Your left arm from the shoulder down is shadow and cannot pick up any physical objects.
I kind of stumble as my arm emerges from her shadow body, and just hold my head. I raise my arm in front of me, and just, this is the opposite of light. And then I just try to turn around again.
And she looks to you and says, "And you will be my bodyguard." And she looks back to the other 2 of you and starts to level her bow. And Beulah, who goes next?
I think the little sylph, quick and nimble, should probably be able to duck and weave and maybe cause some confusion.
I can do even more than that. I hesitate for a second or two because I don't want to do what I'm going to do. It's not a nice thing or a pleasant thing, and a little part of me wonders what will happen if I do it on something like this, but I need to help my friends, and we just do it now. I will attempt to inhabit this being. I mark a shadow to enter the body and take control of a creature until the beginning of your next turn.
Mark a shadow. You inhabit the form, the shadow Catherine, let's call her, and are immediately racked with her thoughts of, like, she has waited decades and decades to die, and Catherine was fighting with the beast, and Zephys was protecting her with her shielding magic, and Zephys finally fell, and Catherine didn't have any more shield to protect her. Catherine was in the process of this fight. She had been fighting for a time, and she was well along the path of shadow and corruption. She had gained corruption. She was well along the shadow to losing herself entirely, and she felled the beast and did it with in like knowing that she was just this side of falling completely to corruption herself. In mechanical terms, she was down to her last couple points of shadow to be filled in, where she would have fallen over the edge. Narratively, she just barely defeated the thing and was so close to the point of shadow that of falling to the void, that part of her that was terrible and void riddled and imbued with that dark power was ripped out of her and was left here, and that is what you are now inside of. You have Catherine's, briefly right now, you have Catherine's memories from living on Earth up until the point she came to Reverie, everything she did while she was here until the point where she was ripped out of Catherine. And it is icy cold in here.
It's a horrible feeling, the worst feeling I've had for a long time, and what I'm doing itself, I know, is part of the void. This is an invasion. When you do this to another being, you are invading their personal body and life. It is an awful thing, but I won't focus on that. All I'm focusing on is quickly grabbing the quiver, and I throw the quiver towards Irahander, from her voice and my voice kind of going, "Find the arrow, Irahander, quickly!"
And Irohander, you hear both voices of Seth and Shadow Catherine coming from the Shadow's mouth as the Shadow throws the quiver at your feet.
This is what I have. I need to find the arrow. I saw her take it. It has to be here. And I start rummaging through the quiver to find it.
Give me a heart check. Target number 6. As you plunge your hand into the depths of a shadow thing, and you attempt to resist its influence.
I don't get any hits.
You fish around inside, and you feel nothing. You feel just an empty quiver for a time, even though you can look into the quiver and see that there are shadowy arrows in there, but your hand just slips through them like they're not there. And then you feel something solid, the shaft of an arrow, and it feels like wood with something like twine or vine wrapped around it. And the fletching, you've got it right at the kind of where your part of your finger is touching the fletching, and the fletching is a leaf, and it's heavy on the tip. You know that there's metal or rock or something on the tip of the arrow. As you draw it out, you pull out the arrow of all the magics, and your arm is shadow, and the arrow falls through your hand because you can no longer hold it. And one of your arms now, I would assume if you are right-handed, your right arm is now shadow, and you cannot hold. You can't hold the quiver, but you can still hold the quiver. You cannot hold the arrow in that arm anymore. But you have the arrow out. So end of the round. Whose turn is it? And that was your complication, your arm.
Let's see. Let's pass it on to Beulah.
Beulah of the shadowy left arm.
I've spun around in my tracks. This is hard. Well, how do you defeat the shadow? You cast light, right? If there's light, there can... But maybe the shadow grows stronger then. Thinking isn't my strong suit, so I kind of self-immolate again.
And Seth, you instinctively, like, because you are sort of merged with Shadow Catherine at this point, you cringe from this. This is clearly, you, Seth, feel that this is both a good and a bad thing because you're feeling what the shadow is feeling and you're feeling what you are feeling.
That works!
I try to hug her.
Sure. Body check with advantage. Target number 5.
I got 2 5s.
Okay. Mark Shadow.
I only have 2 left now.
Are we going to slip into another corruption before this is over? I can throw this out there. I didn't mention it earlier. One of the things you can spend spirit on is to prevent marking shadow as well. So you can spend your spirit to resist. So just for the record, for people looking to play the game, there is a way to resist the draw, the temptation of the darker powers. Yeah, you hurt the shadow quite badly. Seth, you momentarily feel burning. Just the pain of the burn, but then not actually succumbing to the actual injury. And Beulah, whose turn is it?
I think it's Arrowhander.
Arrowhander with a right arm that is incorporeal, but the arrow is out of the quiver.
I barely have time to register what's happening as the space floods with light and fire, and the two opposites, as you might call them, just embrace, and I look at my shadowed arm and I try to move it, but it's not touching anything. So I bend down. I try to avoid the shadowy things, and pick up with my left hand the arrow.
You have it. Now you get a good look at it. It's the shaft is wood. It's twine. It's kind of encircled and spiraled with vine. There's silver inlay in the wood. The fletching is a number of different leaves, each kind of from a different point in the season. There's a green leaf, a yellow leaf, an orange leaf. The head of the arrow is obsidian that is held into the tip of the shaft with wire that has been, like finely woven wire to kind of hold this obsidian rock tip in place. And it feels heavy and important and powerful.
I take it and I put it into my rucksack. And now we are faced with this situation. I am unsure what to do, what I can do to affect this thing, and also to cure what just happened with my arm. Is there anything I can do with my emotional magic, or to affect this thing?
I mean, you have the arrow, so if nothing else, you may be able to hurt the Shadow Catherine with it. Keep in mind, also, one of the things, too, is, and I want to stress this about the game as well, is that this is, quote-unquote combat, but that doesn't mean that the only thing you can do is fight. Your character is skewed heavily toward social skill. You could taunt and distract and do other things that will help them, that will send her into a rage, that will cause her to, there are ways to use the charm and mind traits to do things that will hurt her and, in game terms, fill those checkboxes. Those checkboxes are not strictly wounds.
As I put the arrow into my rucksack, I just feel its importance, and I turn back and I call out to the shadow. Do you remember what this really meant? Do you remember what it was worth? Gaining all that corruption inside of you? Letting the void fill you? What was the purpose of all that? Are you just gonna let it all be for nothing now? And I'm gonna try to influence them, to persuade them to stop this madness, this crusade of grief that they seem to have set their mind on.
All right, give me a charm check, target number 5. And you are welcome to spend spirit as well. It's a one shot. You're not keeping it for anything.
Since I am a fawn, I have the silver tongue talent, so I gain advantage on charm checks to persuade someone. And I can spend 1, or can I spend 2 spirit, or how
just 1.
I'll spend 1 spirit to add an extra die then as well.
Target number 5.
2 hits.
Gain a shadow, or spend a spirit to not gain a shadow.
I am too deeply invested in this. I need this to work. I don't care about myself at this point, because I am the light, I believe.
Shadow Catherine drops to one knee and just briefly sobs openly and looks to you and says, "Why did she leave me here?"
You are the testament of her success. She left you behind only to show us what could happen and what humanity could do for us in our country, in our land, in this whole realm that we inhabit. But she did not belong here. She came here as someone from the outside. She had to go back. But now you're here. And now you can show us that whatever humanity you sprung from still means something.
I believe Seth is next. She just continues, her shadowy form continues to look at you. Seth, you have succeeded in preventing her from doing anything directly by taking her actions. She was able to blurt that out, but how long does this last? Until the beginning
of my next turn, so I will pop out now.
You are ejected from inside the shadow, where you find both of your legs are now shadow, and you cannot stand on the ground, period.
Which is fine, because I can float. But I see my legs sort of looking like that, and I just say, "Don't you see, he's right. You said you just want to leave this place. If you do what you're doing, you won't leave. You'll just bring more people with you, but even then we won't be people. You'll still feel the same. The whole point is that you're here to stop this. Help us end this now, and that's how you will be free."
Give me a charm check with advantage, target number 5.
Fortunately, that's just a bunch of 2s. 5 2s.
Mark a skill. She, as my complication for you, she walks over to you, and says, "Well, if I'm going to stay here, at least I'll have you." And she doesn't force you to use your ability, but she envelops you. Like her shadowy form kind of covers you, and now you feel that icy cold again. You're not wholly within her. Like the two of you looking on, you're seeing that like his arm is still kind of sticking out, and his leg, one leg, he's not disappeared into her, but he's kind of covered with her. Seth, who's next?
Irahanda. As I kind of go, and she envelops me, and I try to resist, but I go in, and I just sort of mouth like, "Irahanda, do something!"
I see what's happening, and I have to get her off him. I clench the arrow in my left hand, and I fill myself with courage, and I press off against the wall. I use my talent called Spirited Charge, and I spend 1 spirit to attack using a body check, and if I succeed I will gain a boon.
Alright. Body check, target number 5. With
the arrow.
With the arrow, which gives you advantage. by its nature.
5, 6, 6. That's 3 hits. And I do not gain shadow because of this talent. Because I use this talent.
You charge at her, plunge the arrow in. She begins to dissipate, and now as she starts to, the form of Shadow Catherine starts to kind of fall to pieces, and bits of her just tendril off like smoke. Seth, from within, you feel this point of warmth within, I believe, your rucksack. And light begins to emit from your rucksack because now the arrow is right there in front of you within just a couple of feet of the point of light, the little pebble that you took from your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother.
I stagger a little as I again am ejected out, but I'm still a bit dazed as I kind of just notice what's happening, and I just sort of thrust my pack to Beulah, because I'm still really out of it a little, like the feelings she had and my own feelings, and I just say to Beulah, the thing, put the little thing with the arrow, quick! Ah!
I start rummage through your pack, I guess.
It's not hard to find. It's lit up.
And I basically just thrust it towards the arrow.
Which I hold up.
Yeah. And just try to, I don't know, will them together in a way.
You touch the pebble, the glowing pebble, to the arrow. The pebble just disappears from your hand. As the light is drawn into the arrow, the entire arrow now glows with this light, filling the room. The arrow starts to pull Arrowhander. It starts to draw itself like it's leading you like a dowsing rod, and it's drawing you toward the heart of the beast. It's pulling your hand.
As the shadow starts to dissipate, and my focus is fully on the arrow that has absorbed this light, I look at Beulah and the dazed Seth, and I lift up the arrow and I throw it at the heart.
The arrow lets loose, it flies through the air, it strikes the heart and disappears inside of it, in the same hole that it was drawn from. And that little hole now emits light. After a few moments, that hole begins to open, and light begins to fill out from the inside of the heart. The heart begins to beat. The beast starts to awaken, and now all three of you are inside this thing as it begins to move. The chamber that you're in, sinews and muscles and flesh begin to refuse back together, and it becomes very apparent that this whole area is going to become filled with meat again very soon. What do you do?
I run.
I mean, I glide very quickly.
You flee.
Yeah, I push through the crevices and the folds of the inside of this centipede kind of thing, this beast, and push as fast as I possibly can, making sure though that my compadres are with me.
As you flee, you check over your shoulder every so often, and they continue with you, Arrowhander following behind you, Seth flying. The two of you with your arms are having a little more difficult of a time getting through those narrow spots. You have to kind of turn yourself sideways and just shove yourself through with the force of your legs.
No, I basically just push my head through first.
That's the red cap way. And
yeah.
You continue as the beast starts to quake and tremble, and you can feel as you start to get to the mouth of the thing, back where you came in, you can feel everything start to lift up. Like the beast is rising up on its legs, and you get to the mouth, and the maw, the mouth is open, the great pincers are wide, and you jump out. And a 15-foot drop to the earth below. Of course, Seth, you fly directly out. And behind you, you see crackling and sparks and tracings of light that begin to cover the carapace and the legs and the whole form of this thing. And as the light passes through each part of the beast, the light trails past it and dissipates and leaves behind this silver and gold centipede, this gigantic monster of a thing. The wings, the little wings that kicked up dust and debris, coalesce into great wings. One dual pair, four wings, and begin to flap and beat. The pincers of the great beast are now silver, and the eye is flecked with a bit of gold in each of the many, many irises. And the beast rises up and begins to crawl forward toward the wall of the ravine. Each of you being left behind as it passes by. What do you do?
We did it! We did it! We made the beast. It's good now, right? It's gonna go and do good things, I think, maybe. I don't know. Oh, ow, And I look to see if I'm still... Like, have we all still got shadow everywhere?
You are all still partly shadow, yes.
I land on the ground, and I look up at the magnificent thing that it's now turning into, and I just sit down, and I just breathe heavily from the fast sprint.
As I strike ground, I probably fall over and kind of get sitting straight on my bum, just, with legs spreading out, and when the beast passes close to me, I actually try to reach out just to touch it gently.
You touch it and it's warm.
It's feel that warmth and in some way feel the light as well.
You get the distinct impression that you have unleashed a mighty warrior in the battle against the void. As you see the thing start to crawl up the side of the ravine, you see it's crawling up the side where Folan is. You've been gone for a little while inside the beast, and there, where Folan was standing, is a dead tree. It looks like Folan to an extent, but it is missing all of its bark entirely. It is just the clean wood of the tree underneath, and it's slumped over just a little bit, almost as if in relief, almost as if its hands were on its knees and it was just finally done. And as the tail of the beast passes you, and the whole thing crawls up the side of the ravine, left behind, back where the heart was, many, many steps that direction, you see the shadow of a woman who is on her knees, crouched over and sobbing. And the shadow dissipates and disappears to nothing. And after a few moments, the three of you are left here in the scar of the three of you are left here in the world scar. The beast is gone. The arrow is gone. The shadow is gone. The three of you are here with your scars, your shadow scars that you will carry with you for the rest of your lives. But the void will be defeated. It is just a matter of time. As the sun comes out for the first time in 3 weeks, the clouds part, and you feel the warmth even at the bottom of the ravine. That is the story, unless we want an epilogue for each of your characters.
I thought that was a pretty nice ending.
Yes. That is awesome.
That works.
I know.
I love it.
Beulah probably gets drunk and fights someone, so that's not that interesting.
I'll carry back the secrets of thing and be a bit sad, no longer having legs, but I can fly, it's fine. It just looks a bit weird.
I will have to learn to play my instrument again in another kind of way. It feels like somehow a small sacrifice. I've seen it in all of us, how the void has taken root in us in different ways. If this is what we had to ultimately lose, or who knows what else it will be, then maybe that's all worth it. That's what Catherine had to do.
Yes, I think Seth would go back to his home and he will pass on the secrets of the wind sculpturing, writing a book about it. But he will always have a little sadness because he will remember her sadness. The sadness Catherine, that element had to her, will stay with him, and it was worth it to defeat the void. But sometimes it is a sadness that haunts him.
Thank you, all three of you, for lending me your good, strong hands and your good, strong minds for this tale. That was wonderful.
Yes, no, that was
Yeah, it
great.
was fun. So much fun.
That was absolutely lovely. What a game! No, I was really enjoying that. I was really enjoying how the powers worked. I liked the simple system. Yeah. It would have been interesting to have seen, because I think all of us were actually quite close to the shadow. Just a few more points.
Yeah. I really like how this magic system works, where you can improvise so much around a certain element. It's really, really fun, and also I love the failed and one hit and several hit system where you fill in and out either the skill, spirit, and shadow. It's really fun with the sort of the twistedness of succeeding very well, how that attracts the bad stuff, right?
And it's almost like a ticking clock as well, because you know that once this has filled up, something is gonna happen, and it might not be good. Well, probably not.
We didn't see it because we didn't play it in a campaign and see the progression of it. But if you play long enough, you advance your character and you get higher and higher traits, which means you roll more and more dice, which means you get more and more successes, which means you mark more and more shadow. So then you eventually start to mark shadow faster than you can spend spirit to offset the shadow. So if you were to play a campaign long enough, it's almost guaranteed that your character will fall to the void. It's just a question of defeating the void before that will come about, and that's all built into the intensity dial too. If you play the game with just 5 tick marks on shadow, it's going to be fast. It becomes a question of how long you want the campaign to be. Like a 5 tick mark shadow on the dial. If it's only going to be 7 or 8 sessions, not too bad. Like, you can probably deal with that. But if it's a longer campaign, that's and then there's the possibility of redeeming characters and bringing them back from the brink and all that sort of thing.
No, I'd be really interested in exploring more of the world as well. I like the elements that, obviously there were elements there, but you were trying to get elements from us, which again was a fun thing. Yeah, Jenny, any closing thoughts?
No, it was awesome. I always do love fairies, of course, so it was fun. But I was going for the more. Yeah, I'm usually not a physical person, but she was, and I usually don't. I try to play her a bit dim-witted. Maybe you noticed. Because, that's fun as well. But she's got heart. She's got heart, you know.
Hjalmar, any closing thoughts?
Well, as there's so many fun. I normally would call them races to choose between, but it's we call them playbooks here. Right.
In the game, I refer to everybody as folk, different folk. Yeah, to kind of get away from the term race. They are all the different folk, and each folk has its own playbook that has a series of talents and corruptions that are kind of appropriate to that folk.
It's wonderful, yeah. Now they are all associated with different types of magic as well. It feels like a very fun world to explore, and I personally, of course, love the whole darkness attribute to it all. It's and the inevitable doom kind of sense.
Well, I reached out to this podcast for a very specific reason. So,
And yet, we did well. We did well. I
Yes,
think we did.
yes.
You know, we were there. We got some scars, but we saved the day. Just.
well, I took it the tactic of like I'm gonna run different games and to kind of get this to happen. So there's other opportunities to hear more about the game and see it in action. And every one I'm doing a little differently. Like there's going to be like a really nice kind of light and fluffy fairy tale version, and we'll kind of do a middle ground version, and we'll do a darker version here.
And then, Mr. Campbell, your own closing thoughts. Did you enjoy us this evening? Were we interesting?
It was all right. No, this was wonderful. I'll be quite honest. I got a little choked up a couple of different times with all of you fine role players. This might be the best game of Good Strong Hands that I've run in the time that I've been running it, and one of my best games that I've run in general. I think it went very well. All of you were wonderful. The characters were a hoot. They were a lot of fun. Clear personalities that came through like boom. You were all ready. I had a great time. And we got a chance to show off, a pretty good chunk of what the game is about. So
We did. No, and again, I could definitely, as someone who's had it happen myself sometimes, I could tell some of that. But I could hear that at the end, I was like, this is emotional stuff. Look, this is nice. It's that quiver in the voice. Like, sorry, everyone. No, I thought that was absolutely lovely. So thank you very much for leading us tonight, Craig Campbell. An absolute pleasure. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah. Thank you, Halmar, for joining us as well. Thank you, listeners. We really hope you have enjoyed tonight's entertainment. If the Kickstarter is going as it should be when you are listening to this, or if it's still going, because maybe, a few dates have moved along, please check it out. Please, if you're interested and enjoyed this, have a look. Please support the project. I really enjoyed this game and think it deserves a chance if you enjoyed tonight. So, thank you very much, everyone. And listeners, as always, take care. We love you. Don't fall to the void.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played Good Strong Hands RPG, which is published by our friends at Nerdburger Games and is on Kickstarter right now. Our game master was Craig Campbell, who is the creator of the game, and we were also joined by Jenny Bremberg. The music was created by Hagberg and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your games. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, and David Hagberg for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you for listening, and see you soon again.